There's a hoagie shop on Cheltenham Avenue, and if you find it, and if you walk in, and if you sit down, the potential exists for reality, for perception, for space-time itself to fracture, revealing a rift that may send you hurtling backwards through time. How far back you may travel is difficult to say, perhaps only a minute, maybe more, and though you may want to, you can't stay in the past. You get only a few minutes at best. Not long enough to alter history or create a divergent timeline, but enough time to wash yourself in the tachyons of past experience and stain your future perceptions like a slide under a microscope. It's all too fantastic. Maybe you've had a sandwich on Cheltenham Avenue and no such thing occurred. You want proof, I get that. But it did happen to me. Of course, I knew which shop to go to. I'd been there before. I was 12 years old. It was the summer and my father had taken me on a trip across the country to visit my grandmother. He hadn't been back in over a decade and reveled in showing his son the places and things he'd experienced when he was a young man. "Are you hungry?" my father asked me, his Philadelphia accent thickening the California gold he'd absorbed, slowly draining from his intonation. "Sure," I said, in that flippant way a child agrees with adults without actual regard for want or need. He pulled our rental car into an indiscriminate parking lot in front of an indiscriminate off-white building. The luster of the original paint faded and relegated to the bottom of a to-do list that hadn't been read in decades. "Here?" I said, skeptical that I'd find anything contained in such a building that would appeal to the refined palate of a 12-year-old. "Come on," he said, a twinkle in his eye I hadn't seen before. I followed him through the old wooden door, unsure and nervous. "Hey, Matt." I peeked around my father to see who'd addressed him so colloquially. He was old, though how old I didn't and still don't know. "Is that your boy?" "Hey, Seymour," my dad said. "Yeah, this is my son Merlin." His tone conveyed pride, not just of me, but of himself and how far he'd come since his youth. "Nice to meet you, but you want the regular?" "Yes, sir," he responded with a grin. "Same for my boy." "You got it," Seymour said as he began to assemble the sandwiches, a task he accomplished unnaturally fast, the butcher paper wrapped parcels appearing at the counter as my father handed over a crisp $20 bill. We sat at a small table and unwrapped our treasure, my father watching me eat with a smirk on his face. "Good?" he asked, trying to sound unassuming. "Mm-hmm," I said, mouth full, modulating just how good it actually was. We ate quietly for the most part, 12 being that age where there isn't much to talk about with adults. He ate his whole sandwich and watched me take the challenge of finishing mine. And so it goes that 25 years later I found myself driving down Cheltenham Avenue. "If I see it, I'll stop," I said to myself, suddenly remembering that sandwich with my father. And there it was. The aging building looking exactly as it did before, as if the paint and signage had reached a state of stasis where it would decay no further. I walked through the same door. I saw the same big friendly eyes and smile. "Seymour?" I asked him. "Yes, sir," he said. "What can I get you?" "My father used to come here. Matt Love?" "Oh, yeah, Matt," he said, brightening even more. "How's your old man doing?" "Passed away 10 years ago." He looked up almost as if he could see my father amongst countless others that have come and gone during his tenure. "Ah, sorry to hear that. Nice man. You've been coming here since high school. You want his regular?" "I do." "You got it." Moments later, sandwich in hand, it happened. Bosons and quarks danced and crashed over me. It was 25 years earlier and I was looking across the table at my father. He looked just as he had when I was 12, his curly hair still black and full, his eyes warm and proud, an eyebrow raised as a smirk crept across his face as I took another bite. "Good?" he asked me, his voice familiar and loving after a decade of absence from my ears. Mm-hmm, I said, staring back at him, unable to say all the things I hadn't been able to tell him since he left. All the things I'd done, the places I'd seen, about the world, about the people I'd loved. I wanted to reach across the table and touch him, feel the warmth of his skin and his love one more time. But I couldn't. And I blinked and I was back, sitting alone in a hoagie shop on Cheltenham Avenue. I took another bite, but nothing happened. No bosons, no quarks, just bread and silence. I tried again and again and again before I finally finished, and sat there a while longer before finally finding the moxie to leave such a mystical place. I've not been back to Philadelphia since. I don't know if that hoagie shop on Cheltenham Avenue is still there, if it's disappeared into the mystic realm from which it came, if the immortality of the building of Seymour of that table persists. But if it does, and if you find it, and if you walk in, and if you sit down, don't be surprised if you, if only for a moment, find yourself falling through time as I had. And if you do, say hi to my dad while you're there.